So we did this with a segment we were filming on our own.
Yeah.
We filmed like 45 minutes of us just chatting shit, and then he points up at the fan, and I'm like, man.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Episode 2, Pizzabox Paradox. Only take action.
Welcome to my home.
Yeah, Saksham, first of all, thank you for hosting us in your lovely studio.
Lovely
Yeah.
mansion.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And Derek, thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah.
You said it's your first appearance on a podcast. We really appreciate that.
Mine too.
Yeah, appreciate you too.
I hate my voice.
It's fine. Maybe you don't have to listen. No, please listen to it again after
We
this.
make it sound better.
Yeah, can auto-tune you.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to begin, that's an interesting T-shirt, I must say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's the best.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it to begin with?
Okay, so this happened to be made by me, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you can show another camera.
Yeah. So it's a part of this movement, I would say, which started off with an illustration project, and then it kind of grew because I took that project further and I made merchandise out of it, and it's called The Right Feel. And everything that I do in this entire realm of projects, it's mostly about romanticizing everything. And I put emotions into a form which everyone can relate to, like movies, food,
Right.
and then I package them up in
Nice.
cool ways,
Yeah, that's.
and then and then that's how I create a good experience out of it.
Mhm.
And it's all available online on therightfield.com. But yeah, the essential part of this entire brand is the packaging and the message behind it. So this is from a collection, or I would say a project called Stages of Love,
Right.
which started off as like a very generic Srishti project,
Right.
I would say, where I was trying to understand when you fall in love, you go through 7 stages.
Right.
It's a Shakespearean and a very old Sufi saying.
Right.
And I translated that into 7 commercial movies, re-illustrated their posters,
Right.
and then I put them on a VHS tape packaging, and then I put this shirt into that packaging, and I gave it to like 40 of my friends,
Right.
and then more people wanted it. So then it became like a movement where I was just making more emotions into a form. It's basically like the idea that people need to wear. So that's what matters.
That's pretty cool. Would you say it's one of your favorite pieces of work?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a symbol that I would want everyone to have. It's just a representation that you feel for something, and whenever it's love, then it's very uncomplicated and complicated at the same time. So
Yeah.
That's interesting.
yeah.
And Derek, what about you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your stream of work and probably throw some light on your favorite piece of work?
Okay, so firstly, thanks for having me on board.
A
Thank
pleasure.
you, Saksham, opening up your
Wow.
house, your studio
I
space.
didn't thank anyone.
It's nice to be here, and I love this setup. Super cute. Now, when it comes to me, what I do is that I'm like an illustrator at the core of it. And apart from that, what I do is I run an animation company called Studio Sideline. And I've also run 2 other things. One is an online education platform where I partnered up with another company in Dubai, but I have my own branch of it, which I run. And I also run a social media business as such. So that's what I do. And it's all through basis of just being an illustrator, an artist / animator. And that's the core of it. And my favorite piece of work actually are the things that are outside my field. So the things that I've kind of gotten away with when it came to doing things like Jugaad and stuff. Like, so at this time when I was working at Disney, so I used to take up freelance on the side as well. And I had to take up stuff that was not competitive to Disney. So I couldn't do like illustration for Disney and then illustration for Netflix, like I'll get fired. So what I did was then Swiggy had just contacted me for this project, for a graphic design where they wanted to take like this Instagram feed, and I had to design the entire Instagram grid has 3 like images, and they wanted to make a whole dining table like of 60 lines.
Wow.
So and you scroll, and it was their birthday celebration, so it was like whole dining, and they needed to be. I said, yeah, I can illustrate fine, but then they're like, it has to be done in Illustrator. I've never used Illustrator in my life. So the night before, I stayed up and I learned Illustrator from YouTube, and then the next day I got it done. So even though that is completely outside my field, the fact that I managed to pull that off, those are my favorite. Like being an illustrator, I designed once a car in 3D and it got made. So then those are my favorite. Like the things that I don't have complete confidence and control in, but then I see it come to life. Those I really like.
Yeah, I think that's like very self-fulfilling also, right? It's sort of what we're doing with this podcast. Is like every step of the way we realize, oh shit, we don't know how to do that, but let's learn it, and then it turns out half decent, and you're like, damn, I can do this.
Coming from that statement that you just said, that some of your best works are stuff that you probably don't do for a living, stuff that you explore. Can we talk a little bit about giving advice to someone who's just starting off as a creative? What would your one piece of advice be like?
I think try to always give life to any project that you do. But when I say that, it doesn't mean like when you make a poster, don't just stop there.
Right.
Try to build a world around it. And try to see how far you can take it, because again, like your end goal matters a lot, but like it only subsides to a different level when you really think through building that forward. How much life you can give to something is exceptionally important when you're building something. And again, like just be a sketch on a paper, but then giving it like its own designated space on a poster, or maybe like a car or a billboard,
right.
And then more specimens, I would say. And then it kind of answers a lot of questions for you. How far I can take this? I think that's extremely important. And if you're starting out in this industry, just go wild with it. Like, just make those ideas really concrete, at least in a prototype stage. That I made a sketch, but what would it do if it was on an ice cream truck? I don't know, something like that.
No, very true. That's damn good.
And what about you, Derek?
I was going to say something similar to that. But actually...
Answer all questions.
Damn it, he stole it. Okay. But actually, on a slightly different note, it's just to get started. Just get started and stick with something. Because many people chase perfection. I want it to be perfect. But when you're like 18, 19, what you find perfect, you're going to look at when you're 25 and be like, that looks rubbish, like, and you're spending so much time looking at it and thinking this is going to be perfect, like just a year's difference can have a big impact. So my thing is get started and don't expect anything too soon. Like you might because expectations then kill. Like you'll be like, oh, I'm going to do like, this illustration is going to be great. But then do 10, make it a project, do 10, make it a world bigger, like Saksham said. Don't expect anything right from the start, because you need to enjoy it. Like you need to enjoy the process more. So just get started. Like at wherever you are, if you have an idea, just start.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Yeah. Now I think circling back to the whole thing about your favorite piece of work, I think one problem we all face, okay, maybe not you, because you all have maybe figured it out, have faced, is how do you go about making a good portfolio?
Wow.
And I think more on, when we say good portfolio, I think a couple of things we like to delve into is, when you make a portfolio, do you target where you're sending it out to? Like if you're applying to a certain place, do you put work that's specific to that, or do you just express yourself, who you are as a artist and designer? Like what's your take on this?
And building up slightly on that, most of us when we start out in our early days, we sort of want to put out more volume. Or we create a style in a specific way that can get us into certain places. So what would your piece of advice be? How would you look at a good portfolio? So,
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you go first?
Okay,
So,
man.
Saksham,
So that
I don't steal your answer.
Okay, so I think it comes down to two things. Okay, I get this question asked a lot from a lot of people in emails when I go workshops, so on. How do we build a portfolio? And they're also asking, like, how did you build a portfolio that got you into Disney, right? So the thing is, one thing is when you're building a portfolio, especially if it is to get into a specific company, it needs to be tailored for them. And you don't make, like, for example, if you're trying to get into a place like Disney, you don't put some dark fantasy stuff in it, even if that's your best work, because Disney has no use for that. Which is why a lot of people who have really good art styles, they apply to the wrong place thinking that they get in, which does not justify the art style. Like, the art style might be great in another place, but then if you're applying to a place which has no relation to their art style, you're not doing yourself justice. So if you want to go into a place like, I'm only speaking from the entertainment industry, like Disney or a game studio called Blizzard or things like that, you make art that they can use, because they are not going to look at your portfolio and be like, wow, some genius came with their art style, let's like disrupt 6 years of our IP and let's make this. No, they're gonna they're gonna need an asset which they can take and put directly into the team, because they've been working on stuff for many years. So if you're going for a place like that, like a portfolio for that, you need to tailor it and even write your mail accordingly, like, to that. Because I see a lot of college people, they just recently when someone sent me a mail where the whole mail was in the subject, like I kid you not, it is. I was like so confused. So that's the thing. And the other one, just to quickly talk about it, is if you're creating a demand for your art as an individual, then you kind of make a name for yourself and do whatever you want in that. And your portfolio could be your website, could be your brand, all of that. That's a different category. This is where you don't want a job. This is where you want to stand out. That you need to own it. And by own it, I mean make something, shout it out to the world, be confident. This is what my art is. This is what it is, and that's a different portfolio. Those two categories are there. Yeah.
That's so I wish someone gave me that advice while I was trying to apply for internships. Making
like a year ago,
It's been so helpful.
I think it's you're absolutely right. I think you need definitely, if you're targeting a niche, you need to tailor it for sure. Even if you're pitching it to someone, like your portfolio or like an idea, you obviously have to make sure that they see the value in it. So, but like for someone who's starting out, people who are just in that space where they're just like finishing college, they're just starting out, they're just going to be like, I've done so much in these college courses that I don't even know what I'm going to do with this, like some weird projects. And they tend to give life to it in very different ways. Like they'll probably put their entire case study as, a project in their portfolio. Obviously, when you say portfolio, it's obviously like your website, which has a work section. Or it could just be like a PDF, which has like 3 or 2 sheets dedicated to one project. That's also fine. I think, you already answered for the entertainment industry. I would say if you want to apply to a design studio, then it's more about like, because you're being a part of this one workforce which are gonna have multiple challenges. So they probably, when they wanna see, when they're hiring, they would wanna see how appropriate this person would be if I throw anything at him or her or they or whatever. But like it's mostly like your projects that you do in college. Again, how you bring life to it, but like it could be a very well curated documentation of like different kind of things that you've done. Like you've made a chair in one project, you've made like a full campaign of like, I don't know, murals around the city, or you've done some packaging for a perfume thing. It shows that you have the skill, you have what it takes to make this when this was your problem statement or your project brief. Then people will see value in you. They'll be like, okay, maybe I can use, because then they see you as an asset, which is a great thing to be looking forward to. If you want to join a design like industry, like this is the portfolio that you would offer to someone, and you're going to be like, if I work with you, I'm probably going to be helping you because I did this where I had these problems, and that could be like the smallest problem. Like I want to sell this lemonade, and I built a menu card to allow people to like look at the lemonade. I built a cart
Yeah.
I built a it could be just so simple.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be out of the world, right? And that's if it's for a visual thing, like strategy wise, you could be like, I only wanted to target old uncles in the park. So I
Yeah.
made the branding in a way that old uncles would come because they had money to pay $50 instead of $10 for the lemonade. It's like a lot of that. So make the portfolio, obviously. Keep it extremely concise because I'm surprised that you read the subject of the email. I thought that when people email you, they would just be so many. I think that's why poor guy, like just put everything on the subject of I just need Derek's attention right now. But like, yeah, I think it's a lot to do with that. People who are reviewing it need to know that you respect their time. So you've put a lot of thought into what is it that I'm going to show this person, the 5 minutes that he's going to spend on me. They have to be worthwhile. And especially when you're not there to pitch it to them. It's a PDF or it's a link. There's so many things. But like, again, like I think what you said, like have fun. But just put some thought into it.
You're right.
Some thought into it.
So I think moving on.
What is that one stereotype about the industry that you feel is true? We come across a lot of stereotypes about creative individuals.
Yeah, like creative individuals are mysterious and like this.
They need to be sad
Yeah, I think
for art to come out.
the only thing mysterious about me is probably my portfolio link doesn't go anywhere. It's just, but yeah.
But yeah, what is one stereotype that you feel is true?
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, do you go to coffee shops and like sit and work with a Starbucks cup? Or
That's yeah. That is true though.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
true.
But we do know Saksham doesn't go to Starbucks.
yeah, he's got a kick-ass coffee machine in his kitchen.
Wow, I was gonna drop in a competitor name, but fuck Starbucks. But yeah, that's true. I do go to a lot of coffee shops actually. Like, initially, that's when I left my first job. I was working in a real estate company, guys. That was my first job. Straight up ran after money. But like that is great because it was a different kind of market that I was catering to in the field of strictly graphic design, which again, when you work in any sort of company and you are a skilled person in general, like you don't have to be specifically a person who does one job. Oh, also guys, my controversial opinion is all jobs are made up. Like I think, like obviously, like if you want to study to become a doctor or an engineer or I don't know, a specific niche job, then obviously you need some assistance and some educational background, some sort of experience. But like some things like where you have to learn on the job. Could be coding as well. Like I asked one of my cousins who works at
Garam Tara.
if I bring a person to you, like who just knows maybe a little bit knowledge of coding, do you think he can do your job? Because if someone comes to me and he doesn't know anything about Photoshop, maybe if I spend 10 days, I can get him going. You know, like I can probably like I would like, teach some parts of it. Then maybe I can like push through some stuff. And then I asked my cousin, and he was like, yeah, I can. I can probably, if that was my job, I could do it. Like it's not impossible. So then again, like some companies have jobs like satisfaction manager. Like it's a sales thing. It's a marketing thing. It's a design. So I would say that my job in this real estate company that I was working, it was a designer job, but it was far more than just making a poster. It was like a UX researcher, I would say. You have to talk to your audiences. You have to get to know how many families are staying in this one building and why would they come to this one clubhouse that you were making. You have to make sure that and that's a part of being a designer as well. Like you're really going far and understanding these aspects of it, which is also making your job a lot fun. What was the question?
So
we're talking about stereotypes.
Oh yeah, the stereotype I feel is that wow.
Probably the coffee shop.
The coffee shop thing is definitely true.
Yeah. I think finalist.psd is definitely still a thing, like even at the topmost places. Another thing I think it's not really a stereotype, but it's kind of like everyone's still learning. Like a lot of people are not properly adulting. They're kind of pretending at the some point, at some, especially in higher places and all that. Like I'll give you guys an example. So I'm not going to call any names or anything, but I was working at a place and I was doing a project, and I made a design for someone, like a character design. The person comes and says, hey, I asked for feedback, just for the sake of giving feedback. The person was like, make the outline thicker. What do you think? So a few minutes later, the guy comes back and he comes back and he says, that looks good. No, what do you think? That looks good. The thing is, I didn't make the change yet. So I actually had it open on my system, but I didn't get around to making the change yet. He thought it was done. So that's what I'm saying. Like I totally get at some points you do have to give feedback to be on top of a project. Like whatever. So then you have to think about what feedback can I give and all of this. That will always stay there, like at different points. Like sometimes there is this concept that we do call a blue duck thing in meetings, where we make a presentation and we know that, say, people who have the money or the corporate, they will want to say something. So we purposely put something in the presentation that is really off. So then they pick that.
Wow.
And when you give like 4 options, one option is like bad. So then you say, let's not do that option. So we do this, and then they get the justification that they've given feedback. Again, this is not for the sake of putting them down or anything. It is also just showing them like, okay, instead of this thing that looks so bad, we get this. When you see that comparison,
illusion of choice.
Yeah, that's literally what happens, because sometimes if people just see what is potentially the best thing, they're like, oh, you did it so fast, maybe you can do better if you have more options. So to avoid that,
I think
we do those things. That is always there.
Yeah,
You're
I sort of caught on to this at like college, even in the first year, where they asked for iterations.
Yeah.
I'd make like 1 good iteration and 4 very shitty ones. I'd be like, that's why I chose that one. That's it.
Yeah. It's also more to do with human nature as such. Like if you're in a position of power, you feel the need to act it, like you feel the need to find something to say.
True.
Which is common. So it's not that they are bad, it's just that it helps the process. So that's also there.
That happens in juries as well. Presenting ideas, like sometimes they're like, I have to say something. And then they're like, maybe change the color. Like
I've been guilty of that as well. So I'll think of something, I'll make it, and then my facilitator will probably ask me for iterations. I'm like, oh shit. And I'll probably ask them, what do you think, like, what would have I done differently that wouldn't have worked? I make those iterations. So that's how I open my presentations. 50, probably the good one first, 50 bad ones, and then justifying why the good one is the good one.
No.
But this technique is like bang on, I would say.
Yeah.
Now everyone knows. Thanks a lot. No, but it's true.
Yeah, we're educating the customer as well.
Yes, that's true.
Very true.
Wow.
So, I think for us also, like as creatives, we talk a lot about, I think it's a huge stereotype that we draw inspiration from like something, like we watch a movie and then we're like, oh, we're so inspired, let's go work. Where do you draw the line between like drawing inspiration from something and then at what point does it become just outright copying? Like when you look at Pinterest, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we should, like, I'm not going to name drop again, but there are a lot of people who like go out there and like look at Pinterest and then that defines their entire style.
Yeah.
So then someone looks at that and you're like, oh, that's Pinterest work.
Yeah.
And
despite them putting in the hours.
So we were talking about this the other day. It's like for someone like you define your own style and you build a big following and then people start to see that and then their styles become sort of similar to yours.
Yeah.
How do you stand out from that, and at what point do you say, oh, these people are sort of copying my style? And
Got it. So in a way, like our style is basically how we choose to represent our ideas or what we see. For example, if I want to draw this bottle, I'll draw it in a way which I choose to represent it. That is my art style. So if I see another artist drawing it in a nicer way, which I find attractive, I'll emulate that because that's what interests me. So art style in a way is copying it, but it's also tweaking it according to my skill level and my interest. So when people try and copy my work, I know it's also just a starting point for them. Like if they see it, it's a good place to get into making digital art, making more of it, making illustration. Then slowly they'll evolve and find more of their interests. Because a lot of them, if you see, are young artists or artists who are just starting, which I'm perfectly fine with because they're not, one thing is they're not taking and claiming it as theirs and making profits out of it or just plagiarizing my work. They're using it as a springboard to get into it. And when you see some, that's I would do YouTube videos and try and copy. I would do tutorials, how to paint on
Right.
Photoshop, all of that, right? So for me, it is not exactly copying. It is finding something that you can do to your current capabilities and what your inspirations are. Like, for example, Dragon Ball Z is huge inspiration for me. I'll always like draw it, right?
Yeah.
So, and draw inspiration from that. Anime inspires, Ghibli movies inspire me. Pinterest images inspire me, but I'm at a point where I can also have a fundamental skill level to get inspired and then draw my own version. But a lot of people are just starting. You need to know how to draw first. So copying is perfectly fine as long as you don't plagiarize it as practice. That's what we call studies.
Yeah.
So in that way, studying is very important. You need to do that. So then you study one artist, study another, and then you can draw bottles your own way. So that way I'm perfectly fine, and it's fine if people do that, because then I know that, great, I'm helping someone on their journey. You know, like that's where I'm coming from here.
Yeah, I think that's again, that's bang on. But like, I think you really need to copy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's also I wouldn't say that the good artists copy, great artists steal situation, which could also be true in a lot of marketing campaigns as well. But I would say that if you're learning a skill and you obviously use YouTube or you use your favorite artist's work, you need to make a great copy of it, because you would know what it takes to make something like that. And then, like what you said, you emulate it, you make something of your own. It's probably going to be different than what you made, because one thing I learned in my college was when we were having this conversation, because Pinterest is basically it that time, right? It is the thing. And so my friend told me that if you look at the sky and you draw 5 stars, do you think all the 5 are going to look the same? So they won't.
Right.
So no matter how much you try to really copy something, if you are doing it from a different, I would say, nature, or like for just like a practice, it's also justifying a lot of things for you. Like you're practicing it also, but it's the same thing, but it's been represented like 5 different ways.
Right.
So again, like it's the process of like manifesting that and then practicing it is different from creating something altogether for something else. And also referencing is very, very important for you to do. Like one of the applications I got for internship was that I have done everything in my portfolio on my own. I have not seen anything from Pinterest. For me, that's a red flag. That shouldn't happen. It's great that you can do this on your own, but for an industry that I'm catering to, we have to be visual. The people that I'm dealing with are not from design at all, and that's what I chose to do. I need to help these guys get a better understanding of design. If you're telling me that you can't reference, we'll have to teach you then. You'll need to put these ideas in a way that kind of really helps people who are not from the industry to understand. Okay, this is the Pizzabox. This is how it's gonna look. We're gonna be referencing these colors. This is the layout.
Right.
Like setting the vibe, right? So it's important. It's a skill that you would learn over the years to reference, to put everything together, and that is not copying. It's a skill to it's a plan. You'll have to make to go further. But yeah, I think for someone starting out, just copy it, man. The act of making it is so like pure that once you're done with it, you're like, I can do this. And then when you pick a new subject, then it's yours.
That's pretty interesting, because now that I think of it, when you're learning a new skill, someone teaching you something, you're probably copying them so that you understand that entire process. So I think that's...
But I also have an example of copying.
Okay.
This shirt, if you Google it, you will find like 20 PR t-shirts floating around, which I can like tell you from the date I made it. In 2018 I put this, and 2019 I got an IP. So now again, like I won't get anything by suing Shilpa Fashions because they're also starting out. Like what would I get if I tell Shilpa? But the thing is that I would maybe get like some people commenting on their Instagram that, oh, this is the pure t-shirt. I've seen this one before. Or someone if they want to comment on mine, which people have, and then they deleted it later.
Yeah.
Because probably some people were replying to it and be like, hey, see this post 2017 or what do you like, all of that. But like, it's also satisfying in some way
Yeah.
that I have reached the stage where people
Yeah.
are trying to like do this on their own. But like again, like that I feel is copying, because now you're not really copying the style of anything. You're copying the symbol
Right.
of like putting this across, which has been done in a way before. But again, for them it's probably just a shirt.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even say that there is just quick money. They're just
Yeah.
trying to make a living like me.
Yeah.
But if someone was like, oh yeah, same VHS tape, inside this, giving it to people like that, really talking about love, then I would consider that's plagiarism. That's where you would really like cross the line.
So you're saying like 9 out of 10 cool people keep person, the 10th person is probably the people who
Oh,
plagiarize
who stole
your
it.
work. Yeah.
But one thing common that we have on this table is all of 4 of us probably love cinema.
Yeah.
We all draw our
Yeah.
greatest inspirations from cinema. Why don't you all why don't you start this time? Why don't you tell us what your
Yeah.
favorite film is?
Favorite movie? I think it's hard to narrow down to one.
Yeah,
I think
it's so hard.
so. But maybe I can.
Why don't you give us 3?
3? I think like in terms of animated movies, one that immediately comes to my mind is I'm a huge like car fan. So Cars is like this pinnacle of my childhood. And other than Cars, like I think this car theme is just going to continue on. I really like Rush, the movie about Formula One.
Yeah.
And third was probably like on a slightly different note, probably Good Will Hunting.
He's pulled out all the big ones.
Yeah. Strong emotional.
Yeah.
Saksham, why don't you go next?
I think again it's so hard. I would still say my favorite movie is Dil Chahta Hai. That was
Classic.
Yeah, I think it really moved me
Yeah.
in different ways. But yeah, I really like when people can capture a relatable audience, you know, and really like help you understand emotions in best
Right.
ways, and also from an innocent space. I think that movie does it for me, like 10 on 10. There's actually a person on YouTube, because I would watch a lot of like analysis videos on a lot of Hollywood films when I was done. Like maybe I would say if I watched Tenet, I'll come back and be like, Tenet explained and whatever, Tenet analysis. And I'm a big fan of like people who really put the design thinking into it. Like Christopher Nolan does that a lot. A lot of people don't like Tenet. I love Tenet. But like I saw this one about Dil Chahta Hai, and that guy was telling us that Dil Chahta Hai is basically it's a movie about like your mind. For cinema, I think Dil Chahta Hai is great. My favorite romantic movie is Lotera, which is a Vikramaditya Motwani film. And yeah, maybe because I'm big on Hindi cinema, I think I will probably relate to it a lot more than anything else.
Derek, you want to go next? Or?
I think my favorite movies depend on my mood, what I'm feeling at the time, and also I pick movies that had impacts on me at that point of time. So now if I look at it, the movie may not be as great, but the impact that it had, like for example, growing up watching anime, now in retrospect some of it is not as great, but because it had that impact and changed my life in a certain way, I still hold respect for it.
Right.
So like a movie in recent times which I actually liked for what it did was actually Into the Spider-Verse. Because that really came at a time which pushed the norm. Like that storytelling wise and all of it. That is there. And if I'm sticking to animated movies, I liked Kiki's Delivery Service. Why? Even though most people wouldn't say it's like on their top Ghibli films, they usually go Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, because Kiki's Delivery Service is one of the more wholesome, childish ones, but when you watch it, you can tell it's made for adults as well. So for an animated studio to make something that is so loved by kids and can be loved by the opposite end of the spectrum, I really like. You know, it just hits all the targets. So that's something I just really like, and just making a film that's generally wholesome. Just an example,
It's also a good way to like Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
It's a great both across society.
Yeah.
I think it's a great story because it's simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
you want to go back to your
Yeah.
universe, and then you expand over it.
Yeah.
I think that storytelling is also a big
Yeah.
Yeah.
like skill, I would
Yeah.
say. But like if a movie does it so nicely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
visually appealing,
Yeah.
the story is good. You know Spider-Man what it is,
Yeah.
and then you push the
Exactly.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
I think when you mentioned like a movie being made for kids and
Yeah.
for adults, another one that comes to mind is Surf's Up. Have you watched Surf's Up?
Yeah. Oh, such a
Phenomenal
classic.
movie.
It's so
Like,
underrated.
I remember like I watched it as a kid and I didn't really enjoy it, but now I
Yeah.
watched it, and then like you, I went and watched a YouTube video about how it's about existentialism, and
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
shit.
They've made sure all of us
Yeah, I
watched
made
it.
sure everyone watched Surf's Up after that.
But
Yeah,
if
what
I
about-
had to pick 2, 3, I would
Mhm.
firstly say Ratatouille.
Nice.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Everyone
Such a
loves
good
food, but
movie. Yeah.
no one can show it better than Ratatouille. Like,
Yeah.
movies bang on in terms of animation,
Mhm.
emotion, storytelling.
Yeah.
Second one would probably be Wake Up Sid. I mean,
nice.
simple movie, right? But
Yeah.
storytelling is so bang on.
Mm.
Like, you can watch it whenever you want, and you'll
Yeah,
probably
so true.
still end up with a smile on your face. And yeah, I think it'll be more difficult to choose the third one, but yeah, I'll leave it to it.
I think, yeah, when we look at movies like this, like
Yeah.
they set a certain standard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you go about your work, how do you like sort of
Yeah.
tackle achieving a certain standard in terms of like, how do you tackle being a perfectionist in that sense?
Because we spoke about it earlier that it's
Yeah.
so difficult to achieve perfection. How do you make sure that in that pursuit of perfectionism, how do you draw a line and say, this is where I stop and I move to the next thing? Because it's an endless cycle, right?
Yeah.
You can always make things better.
Yeah.
So how do you
You
tackle
go
it?
first.
I think time
Yeah.
Okay.
time plays a very major role, and also like how old you are, I would say. But when you're young, you obviously don't care so much, but you also should know that you have to give some time. You have to set some timeline to anything that you're
Yeah.
doing, like a deadline,
Yeah.
and that kind of would help you define how much work you need to put into it.
Yeah.
So if you're, and that's how like educational things also work, right?
Right.
They're like, it's a 2-week course. This is what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So they're also training you to finish something to show to someone in a week. So that means that it's a week's job.
Right.
How much more do you want to put into a week? And then similarly for your project is going to be more like 4 months. In client projects, they're probably going to start with saying 2-week thing, we need it, but then you expand it to like 4 months.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, like I feel that you need to put time to it. You have to start treating it like
Yeah.
work in some ways. Obviously you have to have fun, but
Yeah.
you need to get about a bit more disciplined about it.
Yeah.
I would say that time would obviously
Right.
play a major role in
Yeah.
defining
No,
that.
for sure. Yeah. Like, I agree completely. And I think just generally, you try and find perfection in the limits that you have. Like time, and also like, do you get to spend money or not? Do you get to spend resources? Do you have more people working with you? That all affects it. But overall, I'm still in a phase where I know that I'm still learning and growing a lot, and I want to learn and grow. So I tend to chase progress over perfection. Because like I said, I went through a growth cycle when I was a bit younger. I used to try and make everything good. But then a year later, I'd look at it and be like, that's rubbish. So the thing is, I don't want to spend so much time chasing something that I feel is perfect now. When I'm still mentally, I feel like I'm still growing. It's also probably because I haven't found something that I want to make completely perfect yet. Like I haven't found that complete passion, magnum opus, whatever project yet. Few of my friends have, and they're putting it on the back burner for when they get the time to make it perfect.
Yeah.
Like could be a short film, could be a comic series, could be a certain product. When you have that, I totally get it. My thing is I'm still chasing progress on just improving my overall skills and doing this. So I haven't yet found that one thing to go all out on yet. But when I do, I know I'll change it again. So like it's still a learning process.
But having said that,
Yeah.
I can't stop myself, but I love the space, man. I mean, we're talking about perfect things. I mean, Dev and I, we've been speaking about how, this is the closest space that we've been to that, you just enter the space and it yells creativity. Like, we can tell exactly what you're doing without actually you telling us.
Nice.
But a big but, if you were to work out of any other space, if we were to see you somewhere working, what would that space be other than your studio?
Yeah, because I think a lot of the time, like, you get stuck, like you feel like you're stuck in like a confined space and you're not able to think outside. So what are like your favorite spots to work out of?
I think definitely somewhere where it doesn't feel like I'm working.
Okay.
First, that is the first thing, that I work in a space where I go to office spaces, and the brief is that you have to make the space so cool that people shouldn't feel like they are inside this char diwari and minting money for this MNC which doesn't need more money. So that is the brief, and I agree with it. And I mean, I look at that space and I'm like, I'm never going to work here, man. I would never be able to work here. So again, I like when there's like noise around me. So I'm not the artist type who would make something for myself. I always make something that I want to show to people from the start. So I also want to work obviously like a coffee shop. I would do that when I left my first job. I straight up went to third wave, I'm just gonna say it. which eventually became my client.
Nice.
And I would, when I didn't have anything else to do apart from this merchandise brand, because I wanted to expand more, which I'm still trying to do more and more. I would sit facing the wall or the window, and I would make sure, because I wanted people to see what I'm working on. So I had to instill that confidence in me. I wouldn't say that I didn't have that per se, because I know it's a journey for some people to not be an extrovert. I am an extrovert. I use that to my advantage as much as I can. I try to talk to people. I will always would try to show people what I'm working on. So if I go for a bathroom break, they would see that, oh, okay, this guy probably knows how to illustrate, or this guy knows how to do some graphic design. I would leave a card also there. It's a stage for me. I have to really plan what I'm gonna do next. Like everyone thinks that everything lands perfectly. It's luck. You put the odds for you at all times. Keep your business cards ready, put your stickers ready. You will just meet anyone that you can give you like that dream project that you wanted to, or you go and get it in different ways that you can. So in a space where if it's a coffee shop, if people are there, you feel like the wind's nice, music's good, go for it. And I've seen a lot of people who code go to these places because that makes it better for them, right? They'll probably go to a beach. They won't look at some cool people while they're working. It's completely fine. Like if that's what gets your gears going, do it. Like you understand yourself and your mind better.
True.
But apart from a space like this, I put like a lot of artworks that I've done and people who I admire in this room. But if I want to go to a space where I can't find my people, I would try to create an environment where I feel like I have those energies and those people around. So any coffee shop which has good coffee, a good view, cool baristas who don't mind you camping on a table. I think that's good.
Interesting. What about you, Derek?
Very similar. So I go to one specific coffee shop which I'm gatekeeping because I even put up stories from on Instagram. I don't mention the name, and the owner's also he's not very. He likes a small community, nice community. So he's also not on social media, and he's like, this is good, So he knows what is enough. That's great. I go there, and that place is really my vibe. It's done very well in like I'm there almost every evening, overall the thing is, when I didn't have the resources and all, like at home, I always, like earlier college and home, just starting my career, I always felt like opportunities out there. Like exactly what Saksham says, like because at home it's so easy to get distracted. Bathroom break, bed, sofa, chill.
Bro, parents are gonna give you errands.
Exactly. That's also there.
Get money.
And the thing is, when you go outside to work, especially at a coffee shop, you have to think, okay, if I want to use the bathroom, there has to be certain things to be met before I can do that. Like it has to be empty, and I have to actually and there's no bed to go lie down on. Cafe shops for me are great. A lot of opportunities have come my way through cafe shops unintentionally. Like I completely respect Saksham, the way he owns it and puts it out there. I'm a little introverted. I wish I could do that. That's like goals, be like, this is my work I'm sketching here. So I put the other way. But then opportunities have come my way. just by being out there and being in a place where everyone else is working, whether you're working on stuff similar to you or not, is just a good environment to be. Like at home, when I couldn't go anywhere, like at the time, just sit at my desk at home, I used to fill up my walls with artworks that were made by other artists, not by me, because those are my goals. Like I would want to sit in a space and feel like I have to reach that. So I have to reach a higher place, because if I put up my own work, it feels like I'm putting myself on a pedestal. Which I get by artists do that because you're proud of it, happy. Especially if you take enough effort, paint something on a canvas, looks great, put it up, for the world to see, own it. But for me, it's like I want to get to that level. I'm not at that level yet, so I put up works that I can't do yet. But now I go to cafes more often because I can afford to buy a cup of coffee a day, so I'm happy.
Having said that, we know it's very difficult to put a definition on creativity, and it differs from person to person, right? It's a very subjective topic. But how would you personally say what creativity is to you? For me, it might as well just be a way of life, looking at things in a different way. But to someone else, for Dev, it might be completely different. It might be modifying cars for that matter. But how do you define creativity?
I feel if you can perform a task smarter, not harder, I mean smarter, that is creativity in general. Like you can be the most creative engineer or surgeon or a vada pav seller, because that's like how differently can you do this, which is smart, and then really adding much more value than what you feel it has. That is being creative. And when people put this industry into this is the creative industry, they expect that to be done. Obviously they're going to be like, I want to sell this toothpaste. They go to a creative agency because they're like, how do I sell this? Like, what is the smarter? I know if I put it in the supermarket, then probably people are gonna just look at it and not like, what's the next step? That's when they're like, okay, that is why a lot of people come to us after a lot of the things have already been done, because they think that is the way to go about it, which is also completely fine. They're going to be like, okay, now what do we need to do to sell this? And then we want to be throwing them like services, like what else can we do? Okay, we can do some packaging around it. We can do some marketing around it. We can also change the way that you sell this through like getting some person to add some credibility. We'll probably get Amitabh Bachchan to It's so many things like that. That is basically the gist of like starting the creative process. But I think it just can be anything, like like what's the best way to hold your phone while you're eating is also creative, right?
Very true.
So smarter.
Derek?
I think that hits the nail on the head. It's basically how you use your imagination to solve a problem, but how you use your imagination, not someone else's. That's not creative. Like even a problem is not a bad thing. A problem can be blank page. How do I fill it? How do you use your imagination to fill it? That is what it is. Like even if you're taking two reference images, why you took those references and why you're putting them together is still your imagination. So that's how you're problem solving. But like I said, problem is not a negative thing. Task would be a better term. So just using your imagination, because someone can teach you how to do work and be like, this is the system we made, you follow this. If you break out of it and do it in a more imaginative or smarter way, that's creativity. It can be anything, ironing clothes, laundry, whatever. Right? So
exactly. And I think we talk about creativity and then we're like, always have to have these creative juices flowing to get stuff done and all that. But there are some times when those juices don't flow, and like we all hate this word, like dread the word, but burnout, burnout's a real thing. So how do you tackle something like burnout? Like you guys look damn fresh today.
But we've all pulled like all-nighters. We've all looked like homeless people. If we show up at our parents' place, they're like, what the hell happened to you? Have you not been sleeping? So how do you go around the entire
Like how do you tackle burnout?
Okay, fine, I'll go. So, this is this personal opinion. This isn't law. Like nothing I think of what we say is law. Actually, there are many ways to do things. For me, burnout relates to a lot to momentum and being a winner. Okay, what I mean is like it depends on what you consider a win. Like, for example, you get out of bed, you do your bed, and you say, I did that, that's a win. That carries on and builds momentum. If I draw every day, and I consider even a bad sketch a win because I sat and I drew, that's momentum. And if I keep momentum going, I don't feel burnt out because winners don't get tired. Like, you see someone running a race, he finishes 100 meter, he came first, exhausted, holds the flag and does another lap.
Yeah.
Boxers keep going after the last round, you know, they keep going because you're a winner and that carries you forward. The thing is, I'll tell you guys an example of a recent project. Like I said, I can't call names, but we worked on it till the end and we put in a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, and that project was really good, like some of the best work we've done, and then the project gets cancelled. Now, because of all that and because there was no win at the end, it led to a burnout after that.
Yeah.
We were not burnt out until we finished it. But because there was no payoff, because there was nothing to justify that as a victory, because I couldn't look at it as a win, it became a burnout. Then I went into slump and then I lost momentum. And then I had to come back. So for me, it is, if you keep winning at something, however small, but you personally consider it a win, you don't get burnt out. It's just that if you don't see enough return where you can't say, okay, this is going good, you start losing momentum, and then it's very hard to build momentum again once you're like 1 day of no drawing, 2 days of no drawing becomes 4 days, becomes a week. It just, everything compounds. So for me, that's how I deal with burnout, to find something to win at. If it's not art related, I'll try cooking a new recipe or finishing reading a book or finishing a game or something just to win. You know, it helps.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. I would say that I wouldn't think like that. I mean, now I would definitely, because I wouldn't say that I knew that this momentum is the actual word for it. Like, I would just say that I'll keep creating environment around me to keep going. Like, I would also consider that I think that I don't have enough time in general, like in a day. And if I lose out on maybe half an hour procrastinating, then I'm just, there's a limit to which I'll cry about it. Then I'm gonna be like, that's it. Because I'm gonna like really try to feel bad for 15 minutes if I have to, because I'm like, everyone's human, right? Feel bad about it, that's fine. But then that's it. You need to get up. Like, what is the next thing that you need to do? And I completely agree with you. I didn't really think about it like that. You know, that if you lose momentum, that's true. That is mostly why I would also feel that I'm tired. Because it just didn't reward me as much. So I would, again, like, if I'm here, I would go to the cafe. If I'm at the cafe, I'll come back here. Or like really think through like the other tertiary tasks that I have. Like stress relieving is something else. Like, I would just meet my friends. Just like have fun. I don't know, cracking offensive jokes. But like that's just a part of it, right? But then in the business side of things, like, if I like to make money. This is like straight up, like, I get joy out of it. You know, if I sell a shirt, I was like, okay, cool. I probably didn't impress this client of mine, or this thing didn't go well. I'm probably gonna make a new sneaker and gonna sell like tickets out of making a workshop, or I'm probably gonna put a discount on the shirts today, and I'm gonna be like randomly like for 6 hours 50% off, and some people would just give me like, okay, cool, at least I have something to feed me. And like, you need to understand how you work, right? Some things would not offend you at all. Like, sometimes failure doesn't offend people and it's great, but like sometimes it does, and then you're like, okay, now how do I get past this? So you need to create an environment around you to really...
It's very interesting because it's all about the mentality from what I gauge.
For sure.
And we would both like to thank you all. The way this works is we do get on a call with you all beforehand, and both of us gave us this piece of advice. For you, it was like, celebrate small victories.
I remember I woke up, like, I think it was literally like 2 days ago. I woke up and I'm like, I don't have the energy to go and like do more administrative work and like for the podcast and everything. And then he's like, Josh called me and he's like, you know what Derek said, bro, small victories.
Because for the first time after we got ourselves into the momentum, after celebrating, like making my bed, cleaning my desk, getting my laptop, make sure we got work done before 9 p.m.
Nice.
We have never, like, after starting this, we've never slept on time. That was the only day where we didn't have dark circles. We woke up fresh, and then we got on a call with you, and you told us that time is probably the best weapon.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you need to use time. Then when I started creating like a,
We had like proper Google Calendar, like what needs to get done by what time.
we
Yeah.
got so much work done.
It works.
It
Yeah.
works, yeah.
Like whatever you say about the 50-year-old uncles
Yeah.
and aunties sitting around, it actually works.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they have picked up something.
Oh, yeah,
that they did
really.
for 50 years.
Like,
right? So-
yeah, my mom would whack me if I slept up beyond like 9 a.m.
Mm.
And then I was like, every time I was like, oh my god, what do I do after you've woken up? But now it is inside me. Like
Yeah.
this inside this thing that I have to have breakfast before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have lunch at 2, and then dinner probably I'm gonna rest it out, like say like 9 to 11 window.
Yeah.
That's okay. But like the breakfast and the lunch, the taking bath before breakfast, it's something that I just like, you need to do it. Like I need to do it, and that makes me it gets me to be in a disciplined state, and it's important. You can't really say for everyone else, because people are going to be like, oh, I'm a creative person and
Yeah.
I like to do it my way. I want to smell when I'm working. I don't know, whatever. But like sometimes I feel that if you start treating it like you're valuing it, basically you're valuing your work, like literally, like some people do pujas on their whatever, like on their laptops before they start the day. It's just a way to respect your own time, your own self. And then you become serious. You're like, okay, man, like I've done illustrations. Now you sell them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably gonna go out and do this, and then that's when you get that momentum also. But like this time, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And I think this entire idea of discipline, Derek, hands down, dude, we see your Instagram stories every day.
Oh yeah.
The amount of work that you manage to put out, why don't you tell us a little bit?
Like even your like gym ethics.
That's what I saw his story yesterday. I'm like, the dude also has the gym.
Yeah.
What am I doing here?
So one thing is I am a workaholic. So
Yeah.
the thing is, but that brings me joy. It's not like I'm doing it as a chore. Maybe I've tricked myself into it, because I realized one thing early on when I was at Disney. It's like if I was sitting there doing work till 10 p.m., it was like a chore. But then after that, there's like a party at 11. I'm all hyped.
Yeah.
So if you can switch the mentality and be like, and another thing is like one thing that it may be cliche to say, but everyone says life is hard. But when you're in those periods and then you realize, oh, this is what hard feels like, it really trivializes it. And you're like, oh, I just need to do this, and that is
And
hard.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're like, oh, I'm dealing with hard. Like, this is
Yeah.
what hard is, you know? And we're like, oh, it's not that bad, you know? Like,
Yeah.
so, but generally my day is very, time, like you said, is very valuable. And the thing is, I have a daily checklist, which I need to do before I sleep. But I started from the morning, like whether it is journaling or spending time reading or making a personal artwork. All of that, I have a checklist like on my Google Keep, and also sheets, or two different checklists, which I need to mark. So that keeps me in track. Like I don't have a period of time where I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So even if I'm on chilling, I have a lot of things to do to chill. You know, I don't have a period of time where I'm wondering what to do, because I don't like that dull in momentum, right? And I want to keep doing things. Like, and it's not taxing at all. It's fun. Like making money is fun, for example. It's really fun. Like there's a lot of hard work. You have to do it, but once you see the returns, it's fun.
Yeah.
So that's also there. Yeah.
And we've talked about the good bits. Why don't we get our hands a little dirty and talk
I
about?
think like, and even with burnout, like we say, it's a problem that we all deal with. What are like some problems you see, or like gaps you see in the creative industry right now?
Because you've spent a lot of your time working for these
Yeah.
clients, and you are in that position where you are giving advice to young individuals who are like, boss, we don't know anything. What do you feel are the biggest problems within industry that need to be addressed, but no one is really looking at them and they're just there?
I feel a part of the problem is the audience is very naive, I feel. And you can't blame them. Because when you say that you want to make good design for maybe, like, let's just say an Indian audience,
Right.
it obviously varies a lot because we're so many. But also, people don't really know what it takes to make a creative piece, or like just any problem which relates to the design industry. So the gap is them not knowing what a process is. If they come to you for a logo, for example, they like it's a stereotype. Like sometimes they feel that in the first 2 tries, I should be able to get something out of this person. Like I should be whatever 3 first drafts that this person makes. I need to like it. And why am I not liking it? Like that's the mentality that they have. They don't really get the process behind it and what is a logo first of all. Like what do you need to do with this? Like if someone comes to you and they're like, I want to build a house. That's different. Suddenly it's different for them because they're like, oh yeah, a house obviously needs bricks, and they don't question it. They're not like, oh, why am I making it with bricks? Why don't you use wood? Like they that conversation doesn't start because they kind of know the know-hows of building a house or like getting an architect who's going to design a space. There's so much that they already kind of are familiar. But when you go to the creative field, it's not, they don't know. You can't blame them to not know. You know, I that's my responsibility as a service provider. I have to educate them. I have to be very clear in terms of this is the process of creating this small logo that you call is just going to go probably going to go on your printing machine. But what is it going to do for you? I'm going to tell you. And that's a part of my job to tell you what's the life of this one small piece of symbol that I'm making you, and you're asking me why am I charging you this much money or like something like that. You know, that's what makes it valuable for you. So the gap is it's educating your audience or your client about this. Like this is something that a service is being provided to an audience. But I have a project that I did in our residency road in Bangalore, which I've failed twice now. I don't know if you guys know about this. I tried to paint a wall of love, and it's been defaced twice by like a local organization. So I'm not dealing with a client here, guys. I'm dealing with public. And how do you offend public? Like not by not making anything like obscure or nude, by using a different language. So I was for every for every Valentine's Day I do an anniversary project, which is like an anniversary to this Stages of Love project that I've done, and like it's been 6 years now. This was the 6th anniversary, like last month. The 4th and 5th anniversary, I tried to paint the wall of love over and over. For the 4th anniversary, I thought that I'm going to pick a topic of interfaith unions. So I took 4 films as like my starting factor, where I just took 4 unconventional stories captured on cinema. And it was all about like how people go beyond their faith to be with each other. To just feel because that's what it is. It's not about the shirt again. It's about the message, the symbol. So I decided to paint the wall of love at Residency Road in MG. It's near MG Road. You can walk from Brigade Road to this space. It's right opposite Green Onion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know.
That's
a Chinese
I
restaurant.
know that. Yeah.
So if you go there right now, there's still a defaced point which you can see. I mean, it's not finished yet, but the one before that was thrashed. So it had 20 pyars, basically 20 languages, which said love in their respective languages. Sorry, like 20 dialects. And I was painting this entire thing, and someone was filming it. We had like volunteers who were coming helping me. And according to the film, we would paint everything, and then the Kannada prem, like what the Kannada word for pyar would be in the middle, and people couldn't see that. Like coming around, they saw the Tamil first, and then they saw the Konkanese one first, and they were like, I don't even know who was agitated, because when I was making this, a lot of people were walking by and they were feeling welcomed. Like this Manipur person came, Manipuri person, this really sweet lady, and she was like, this is my 2nd day in Bangalore, and I can see Manipuri here, and I'm feeling welcomed. So thank you for doing it. And a lot of local people, man, like this one group of people from these college kids, and they were like, this is so cool. Like, why didn't we do this? Like, we are from here, and a person from Chandigarh is coming and teaching us how to do this. Like, I was like, it's not even teaching. They're like, why are you doing this? I was like, it's this It's a public art piece. I'm giving it back to the city who taught me so much. No cop was stopping me because they were like, it's a beautiful message, man.
Yeah.
Why would I stop someone writing love?
Yeah.
And then as soon as we left for lunch, it was like 6-7 hours into painting. We started at 6 in the morning. So 2 p.m. we went to get Nagarjuna. And once we were back, I could smell like black spray paint. It was all defaced. And it said, write in Kannada. Like all over the wall. So,
But don't you feel that I would counter it as our failure? Because despite being individuals who are supposed to convey stories, we are somehow still failing to educate the audience, trying to tell them the story. Ke boss, I'm probably just sharing some love with y'all.
Yeah.
And the fact that we are writing love in different languages is still not, people still can't communicate. I would take that as our failure also to an extent other than.
Of course. I mean, I was trying to reason with them. There were 4 guys in Scorpio. Came all like buffed up. And I'm not even like Derek who's gonna kick these guys. But like, they came and they went, and then it had to go away because no one was willing to like do anything about it, and it just fizzled out. And then the next year we did it again. And this time we were cordially stopped by the same person, and they was like, just don't do this because we'll have to deface it. And then I was trying to reason with the guy. I was like, let me finish it, you deface it. Let me just finish it once because I want to make sure that something was here. Because by the time you finish it, right, people's opinion change, people change. That's the beauty of it. When they see other people appreciating something so much, they're going to be like, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe they'll have a change of heart. So I obviously believe in this hope. And I say that even if there's a 1% chance, just go for it. I'll probably do it. And then I'm going to see what happens. And this guy won't let me do it. So we kind of had to let go of it. But it's not defaced yet. It's still there. And Kannada's thing is there. But the rest of the stuff is not written. Because, they're not ready. But again, like that's coming back to the same thing. The audiences vary. This is the gap that I see. Like with clients, it's like they don't know the process. With audiences, they don't get the message. So there's a lot of like communication that needs to go forth with the right kind of people during, before, or after you do things. So again, like I'm very passionate about the project that I'm doing, but I'm not emotional.
What about you, Derek? Any gaps or like problems you see in?
I think there is roughly two problems that I can see. One thing is communication. Now, I'll break it down for you like education. When a client reaches out to you, usually, for example, if it's an agency reaching out to a freelancer, or an agency reaching out to another studio, there's not the boss of the agency reaching out to you. So it is someone whose job is to do that. They reach out to you and they get the information that you give them. Now, they might goof up that when explaining to the person who hands out the money. Could be the producer, could be the boss. You need to put out your information in such a way that is very simple to understand and very easy to share. That's why FAF doesn't do anything. So that's why it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't solve any problem. You're just trying to sound fancy, but then how is this person going to relay this information to the boss? Boss doesn't have time to read FAF. They're just going to sit in a meeting saying, what's our marketing strategy? Or we're getting this. And then that person's going to read the FAF. No, that's never going to work.
Yeah, they're going to be like...
So, that is one gap. The second problem is people are not opportunists. They think that if the client wants this and I don't work out for them, that's it. But the thing is, sometimes the client doesn't know exactly what they want. They're like, we need we have this problem. Maybe it's a marketing, or maybe we need this. How do we solve it? So then someone comes and reaches out to you, and that someone is usually not qualified as an artist. That's why they're reaching out to you. So they'll be like, we have this design, this product, this illustration, whatever. And then you don't work out for them. But most people don't counter and say, instead of that, what do you think about this? If I can do this for you in my style, and you give some rough sketch or doodle or some reference images that convey the style, most of the times that convinces them enough. Because that solves the problem. They're like, instead of what we thought, this is actually a better idea. Those are two gaps definitely that can be fixed.
I mean, having touched a little bit about clients, customers, how do you price and deal with clients?
Okay, so I'll speak of it from the entertainment industry side. So now there are two ways when you can go about pricing. One thing is if a client comes and says, I need an illustrator to do this, or I need Domnic D'souza to do this. So when they come for the second, I can charge how much ever based on whatever I think. Like there's no limit. Like there I can either do it for a very small price if I care, passionate, and these people need it, or I can go way up if it's a brand. You know, I can charge anything at the point over there based on what I feel is right. Now when it is the other way around, you need to be well aware of what the industry rates are. At least from this entertainment industry side, you can't charge more because they need an illustrator, they don't need you. Or they need a graphic designer, they don't need you. So that's where it's good to know what the rates are, and especially at where you stand. If you're just early experience, it's not hard to find the rates. You can Google it or simply send a mail asking someone what the general rates are. You don't ask them what their rates. People are very private about that. You just ask generally, what do you think I could get for somebody who has this much experience, and you have to go with that because you can't come out of college being a star already. It's very hard to do that when you have a lot of demand. So you have to go with what the industry is. That being said, the industry rates are very different if your clients are from India or from a different place.
For sure.
So you can be very smart about that. But the thing is, knowledge is power here. The more information you have, the more you can go back. And it's not hard to send a mail to someone who's maybe a year ahead of you, because it's always easier to approach someone who's just a little ahead of you, as opposed to approaching someone 10 years, 20 years ahead. So you can send a mail saying, hey, I'm new to this. Could you please let me know what the breakdown is? How long does it usually take? Or in the agency, how many revisions? You get all that information. You just kind of go with it, because at this point, you're not unique enough to charge whatever. You have to go with the industry to build up yourself, to get finances, all of that. But like I said, when it comes to the second stage where you have created enough demand and people want you, this can be fashion designer, this can be all of that, then you have more power there because you have that weightage. So
yeah, I think again it's extremely subjective, first of all, but yeah, I think I would say how much value you're providing to them. That is the first question. I mean, small business versus a big brand, again, so subjective, but I would say a small business, you definitely need to know. Like, I do a lot of research about about the person who's approaching me. If someone sent me an email, they're like, oh, we need to brand something, I'm stalking them everywhere. First of all, I'm gonna see if they pop up on Google, what's their Instagram like, because I'm gonna do some research now to actually see how much do you care, first of all, about this. Like, and I'm probably gonna have like 1 or 2 meetings just to make sure if that is in the same vibe. And like you said, like if I would get to know maybe the first 2 meetings, maybe like 50% how much time they're actually going to be taking of mine. If they're going to be very particular that, oh my god, this, like, some people are hard to deal with in terms of just getting a decision out of them, and it's hard. It's luck also. You have to play ball. Like what is it that will I be spending the next 6 months convincing them that this is the right thing for them, and then I have to price them for the 6 months, versus someone who's like, okay, I'm probably gonna do this film campaign and I need like a poster and this is the release date, so I know that this can't go beyond this. So now I know, first of all, I know the timeline and I also know the value, but like the value part is something that plays the most amount of time. Someone like some dhaba owner comes to me and they're like, I want to make a logo, like what do I do? So I know that, okay, maybe like we have the rapport, I'm gonna make something quick. I might not even charge them. I'm gonna be like, I'm probably gonna get 2 butter chickens and 3 naans for takeaway, or something like that. But like, again, like if some brand comes in, I know what is they gonna what is this artwork gonna do for them, how long they're gonna be using it and where all it's gonna be printed. I'll probably get to know that, okay, this is how much I think I need to be paid to compensate for this time. But also from someone who's entering, or for me as well, like I fucking do Nikes all the time till I'm gonna keep on doing it till I get their attention probably, and I still feel that I'm nowhere close to like industry people yet. I still feel that I'm probably like getting there. I'm trying to get as much as I can, and if they come up to me, probably I'm gonna approach it in a very different way because I want to work with them. This is not that they want something. This is something that I want. So my ego is gonna be extremely aside, or not even ego, like my want for money and my desire to get like paid is going to be different, because then the value that I'm going to get from them is something that's going to matter to me. Maybe like if I get featured on some of the design industry, that okay, I did something, that's going to be my takeaway from that. And I like in fourth year I did this one installation in a metro station, and when I was done doing that, I got a lot of people who I got a lot of traction from people who are walking around, and then people are like, oh fuck, how much did you charge for this? And I was like, I didn't, because this is like my graduation project. But then they're like, you should ask the metro department for money, like to keep this going. And then because the vinyl is almost, it's like a installation probably. I don't know how you're gonna show it to people, but like it's a pretty cool win that I had. But again, it becomes subjective, because now again it's a public art piece of sorts, and my client wasn't like the metro station. It was like a crowd. It was like a CSR funded project, which maybe I don't even know where the money would come from. But like it's again that's the value that I'm getting from people coming in and playing the game. Maybe 2% of it probably is gonna read some A3 size poster that I'd put. Okay, this is the guy. So they'll put a story, and it would like really melt my heart if I don't know anyone, like who's this random person putting it on, like, and writing paragraphs in Kannada about it. Which is great. Like, this is what I want to do, and I'm sending them like a thank you message that wow man, I'm so grateful that you played this game. And even I can't read, but I know that I hope it's a positive message because I can see hearts. So it was cool. So that's again like the value that I'm getting would definitely define.
Has the introduction of AI sort of disrupted this entire space? Because then I'm pretty sure one of y'all must have had a client that, oh, my kid or someone I know used AI to create something like this. Like, then why are you charging so much?
Then make the AI do it. Make it.
So, but has that entire situation kind of changed with the introduction of AI?
Yeah, kind of. I would say that copywriters are in trouble. No, I don't think anyone's in trouble.
Okay.
Because just use the tool. It's even Photoshop is like an AI tool if you think about it, like 20, 50 years back. You don't need to sketch something on paper, scan it, and then make minor changes. Because that's also like a tool which helped. So AI is also going to be a tool which is going to help you nurture certain things further and further. And you need to be able to not master it, but like you just need to be aware of it. That
just
there's something like this exists.
Like find a way to incorporate it.
Yeah,
into your
but like
process.
I also feel that it's doing a lot of good things, at least for me. I can filter out people in my life easily. One time I needed a videographer or like a 3D designer. It was on that same WhatsApp group, and I got emails back which was fully like ChatGPT coded. No requirement for an 60 FPS video creator. I am actually a 60 FPS video creator myself, and my skills would transcend. It was like a full-on ChatGPT mail, and it was hilarious. But I would go to their link, and now I am like very sweet with these things. So I was like, I get it, man. I get it. You want the job. I'm probably gonna look past this, and I'm gonna like look at their portfolio, or I'm gonna reply. And some of them are like your studio name in the brackets, still in the email. And I went to your college name, and I was like, your college name sounds like a great this thing. And then I replied to them, and they're like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I know, I get it. It's fine. You can just be human for a change, and just like write to me. I would miss it, like if someone would write to me and be like, I liked so and so projects you did because you did so and that impacted me in so and so ways. I would like to work with you. This is my portfolio. That's it. Like that's literally it. Or like you don't have to use ChatGPT for everything,
Exactly.
Use it. I'm not saying that, but like if you're interacting with someone who probably knows what's up, like then
play it smart.
Just play it smart.
I think, Derek, you must have had more experiences with like AI generating images.
Yeah, with like, especially with like Midjourney and everything becoming quite.
So it's a little different for the entertainment industry because it's already affected the industry. Like I've spoken with people from various top companies, brands, everyone's talking about it. We had a recent animation fest in Pune, and there it was the biggest talk. So the thing is, AI, it is going to happen as a matter of time. It's going to replace a lot of skill-based work. Okay, it is a tool that's going to replace skill-based stuff. What that means is an example I can give you is like animation has a lot of steps between. There's like rough animation, then there's a cleanup phase, then there's like a tie down where you make it look like the character, then there's a line art and coloring. Now from rough animation to a lot of those steps can be taken care of by AI in the future. So that's already been done at Netflix with Blue Eye Samurai, all their stuff that they're putting out, a lot of that. So a lot of skill-based people are going to lose that. But on the other side, what takes over are the good storytellers, the good directors, the good people who can control the tool. That will never go. Like how you use the tool matters. Now, that will always be there because like when photography came, it disrupted something. When 3D sculpting came, it disrupted something. There's always going to be something that disrupts. But it's how you adapt to it and go ahead. Like you're in this field now, if you focus on storytelling, directing, using AI and making your good stories and putting it out there, you'll survive, you'll do well, as opposed to just focusing only on the skill. Because, for example, you could do a storyboard on pencil on paper. A lot of people still do that. It's just more convenient to have an iPad or a Photoshop where you can draw it these days. Same thing. That's the thing.
Yeah, to be fair, it's like having draftsmen, then AutoCAD came along.
Yeah, exactly.
You just lose. I mean, from what I conclude is you're going to lose a lot of skill-based jobs, but at the end, decision makers are always going to be around that are going to take the calls. So that's...
Like the indie scene is being affected a lot. Like I'm not in the indie scene, but I can see it where small-time artists, hobby artists, where they used to make cover art for some people or book illustrations, those clients are now getting it done by Midjourney. I can see it affecting it in a smaller scale in the indie scene. But it's much different on the larger industry scale. So we still have to actually see what happens now that Sora and all is being getting done.
I can't wait to use it though.
So we'll see.
The other day we were just talking about how getting B-roll footage is going to be so much easier than with Sora.
Then we saw the prices. And we said, never mind, we'll do it ourselves. And just to wrap things up, Dev, do you want to?
Yeah, I think we have the tissues for a certain reason. It might be a time to get like a little personal, little emotional. But is there any advice you would give your younger self, like that maybe you do something different? Is there anything you would
in my
say?
Room? I would say that I could take more risks. I shouldn't have. I mean, I've taken a lot of risks, but I think I could have taken even more bigger risks when I was younger. So I would. I wish I could take more risks. I'm not even that old yet. I'm like 100. But and that's actually changed a lot of things in me now. I have become extremely more proactive because that's also it kind of hits you after some time that, okay, what am I going to do next? Which is going to have even big further impacts. But I that's just an advice that I would give to myself if I could, but I don't think I'm going to change anything. Like the bubble that I had, I think I did enough to get me to what I'm doing now, and probably I'm going to have more things to do further and further, and I don't think I'm there yet at all. So,
I think for me, it's if I would give myself advice is get out of the comfort zone and more and change, be in control of changing my environment. Like a lot of times we get very comfortable where we are, especially if you're reaching some levels of success like this, and then you think, okay, based on the people you surround yourself with, based on the environment you are in, that's there. Recently I went to an event where people were way ahead of me and I loved it. So that just puts me in a space saying, and it's not for greed of wanting more. It's more of just saying, I can also do this in life. I can also do that. Just opens my horizon. Like, for example, I would definitely travel more. I would definitely get out of the comfort zone just for that. It's nothing to do with being more wealthy or anything. It's just experiencing life better. And you do that when you start surrounding yourself, changing your environment more, and seeing different sides of life. That really adds to you as a creator, designer, artist in ways you don't even understand. Because I just sit and spend a lot of time in my room drawing all the time, instead of actually going out there, So that's one advice I would give my younger self.
I think both of you all touched on the topic of success. What are your metrics of success? Like, what would you say? Yeah, essentially that. What are your metrics of success?
Wow. If I could compare to Derek's, then I'm really poor because I have like some 3,000 followers. But I definitely would consider money as one. And I think, in my world, if more people have a piece of my artwork, then I would consider that like as maybe in the trajectory of success. I would want this to become the I Heart NY t-shirt at some point.
Yeah.
But I have to take really different routes to get to that level, because then it has to be sold at India Gate. Not even made by me, but someone else is selling it. But I think I'm too young to answer that question.
Derek, do you feel enough to answer that?
Well, at this point I can answer. I don't know if it's going to change next month, but it's literally, for me it's freedom. Like having the freedom to make choices in life that I want to do. It's not even based on wealth. It's not like I want a luxury car, so I'll buy it. It's just like, okay, I want time to myself where I can just sit and read without having to actually earn that time. Like, okay, now I can do it. If I want to go travel somewhere, enjoy a good thing, that freedom and having that to do what I want, that is success. Money is a means to that, for sure. Money does do that. So once I create a system that can run by itself and all of that, I will have that freedom at this point. But like I said, I haven't seen enough of life to really define what success is for me yet. So I'm just defining based on my current knowledge. But currently it's freedom for me.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of it. But how we like to end each episode is we want to ask you guys if you know what the Pizzabox paradox is.
Wow.
Do you know what it is?
What are we doing here? Where's the pizza?
Yeah. So the paradox is basically why is a round pizza, which is cut into triangular slices, put into a square box? That's sort of the paradox. Do you guys know the answer? Or
I mean, packaging wise.
Shit. Wrong people.
Are we the only ones who didn't get it?
If I make a circular die, it's just more work, more hard things to do. I'll have to make more sleds. This is not.
I think we were the only people.
Yeah, because we got very existential about this question, and we asked we had 100 stupid answers.
If this was a circle, right?
Yeah.
I would be making a lot of these, which is wastage of a lot of. I can go technical with it, but
no, that's actually the right answer.
That is the right answer.
We both, when we're working, we're like,
oh, I didn't know that.
That is the right answer.
There's actually an Apple commercial about it as well.
Is there?
Seen?
Shit.
Like they basically try to make a round box for a pizza, and they've in that entire 2-minute ad they're just showing a lot of Apple features. They made it, and then eventually the guy was like,
but
it's not feasible.
The reason why we bring this up is it's all about the entire idea why we did this is so that we could ask these smaller questions that sort of we might think we know the answer, but while ordering a pizza, till the pizza came to us, we came up with 100
very stupid answers. We were questioning, why don't they just make square pizza? Just put a square pizza in a square box, right?
Makes it better. But that's what we are doing with this. We're gonna go to every single person that we think is breaking the boundary of creativity, ask them these questions.
Wow.
And then
I didn't question the item, I just questioned the packaging.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm so used to it.
I thought you guys were questioning why is creativity bounded by the cubicles of society or something.
Wow.
That's very good.
Can we pretend
Unfortunately, we're not intellectual enough.
Even I feel so sucked into this corporate world.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking like that. You're right.
Next guess, this is the answer we gave. But on that note, we would I'd like to thank you all
thank
for
you guys both for
Thanks
being
for
here.
having us.
It was a great conversation, very insightful,
Yeah.
funny too. Had some fun, had some great laughs. Yeah. So you can just wave into whichever camera you feel like, and yep,
Yeah.
that's been it. Yes.
A few moments later.